this episode, we are full on spoilers for both the novel and the film.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jen.
I'm Bill, also known as Matt Stagger. Again.
And I'm Glenn, the Geeky Hippie. Welcome back to What the Adaptation, the YouTube show that reviews adaptations from one form to another. It would help if I hit the go live button twice, so sorry about that, everybody. We've got a returning guest, Roxelane Sedai, joining us to help us discuss Dune Part 2. Roxelane, how you doing? Good to have you back.
I'm very excited because it was such an amazing experience.
Definitely was. I'm going to have complaints in this episode, but let me just flat out say this is part 2 of the best Dune ever produced on screen.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, so when I complain, that's just me being complaining. You know, there's always going to be something to nitpick about or be pedantic about. And I'm the one who finds those things. So
That's your job. That's okay.
How did everybody feel about this movie? How many times have you seen it?
All the way through? Only once, actually, believe it or not. But I was there like the next day, the first day. I was so excited.
I saw it on the first week, barely two or 3 days after, on the Monday after the first weekend, and I saw it on IMAX. That was just wow. I saw it only once, but
the IMAX is amazing. That experience in the theater is amazing. If you have the chance to see it on IMAX, go see it on IMAX. Yeah. The sound alone will absolutely vibrate your skull. It is amazing.
That was the complaint my dad had when we saw it last Sunday, was that it was too loud for him, but he's 77, so
I can imagine.
It was pretty loud in there. I think they had the volume turned up for a big theater, but in a small theater.
Yeah, so, when the Aiel were like fighting that like rumbling thing the Harkonnens had, you know, when they were like ambushing it and popping out of the sand, that particular fight scene was like way more grumbly, crunchy, loud, reverberating noise, music, like making. Hey, lots of people today. Hey, Elfwitch. Oh, wow.
How you doing?
Elver and Wadaholic is joining us. So yeah, thanks. So that was your whole seat's like when you're watching it, like you're getting the full physical experience as well as the audio.
Okay. Wait, did anybody get the bucket?
No.
I didn't either.
Okay, but see,
we didn't have it. I asked for it, and we didn't have it, even though we're in Montreal, where Denise is from. I was like, "What's that?"
That's crazy. In Montreal, that's wild.
It was in that specific cinema for the pre-screen, whatever the premiere, just the day before, and yet the bucket was not available. I was like, "What's that?"
Wow,
they might have sold out.
No, it was not sold out. It was not. It never been there. It's just no.
Oh, so they just didn't have it. That's crazy.
That is crazy. They offered it, and I told my dad, "You don't want it. You don't even want to see it." I saw a picture of it, and I was rather horrified by it.
So I was coming up to get it, but then I actually saw the Kung Fu Panda 4 popcorn bucket, which I think is actually a lot cuter. I might grab it sometime here. It's over on the other side of the room, but I got the Kung Fu Panda bucket because it's tin and it's reusable, and you can actually put stuff in your house. Nice. So yeah, it was actually tin. So I was like, okay, it's worth it to me. Anyway, that's what I did instead.
So you guys want to dive into our questions?
Yes.
Where we go from there?
Yes.
What changes stood out to you from the source material?
There's a lot.
Yeah.
And how did they work for you? How did you start, Bill?
For me, honestly, a lot of changes. One of the biggest is Aaliyah is very much she's not in it that much. We do hear her voice. Other than that, she's not born, which is a departure from the source material.
Right.
So that's a huge change, but it actually works for me knowing that they are doing Dune Messiah, so they could focus on her and her life and everything for an entire
I'm
picture.
guessing it's going to be a big time jump between these two movies then.
Oh yeah.
Because presumably they're going to continue with Anya Taylor-Joy as Aaliyah.
Yeah, it's been confirmed already.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that was a joy to see her. No pun intended. Well, but I did enjoy. Well, we saw her.
A glimpse. I mean, we heard her more than we saw her.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Roxelane, was there a change that stood out to you that worked or didn't work for you?
Well, all the changes worked. Basically, the time frame was the main thing that jumped to me. But I think they actually used it well, because in a way, showing Alia not born, how can I say it? It kind of emphasizes her strangeness even more than if she had been born, I think. So for me, it kind of sets the table for Messiah, indeed. Other than that, it was mostly like they would cut some scenes to focus more directly on the story, the main story. Another change that I actually like is that, unlike in Messiah, we see some of the Bene Gesserit and the politics behind, but in Dune itself, it's mostly just through the excerpt at the beginning of the chapter from supposedly a future book by Irulan, but now we would see it. It would be with Irulan talking to her father or talking to the Reverend Mother. So I actually like that. It felt more like we are with them. We can follow what is going on. We can understand also. It kind of taught us what were the consequences of all those politics and religious things. So I really enjoy that for that reason. Also,
go ahead.
One last thing I would say is that considering that Denis Villeneuve knew what is coming in Messiah, what was the intention of Frank Herbert, he was able to incorporate it better in the movie than it is actually in the book. So that was, for me, also a great thing. We could see all the struggle of Paul trying to find his place, I would say, as the Messiah, while he knows that it's not a true prophecy, and all the manipulation, and he's just trying to find his place, and we see that.
I think he struggles.
Yeah,
he struggles more in this film fighting against the Messiah role. He flat out tells everybody, he tells them all, I don't want to go south because this is what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want this to happen. If I go south, this happens. And everybody keeps pushing him to go south. So seeing him struggle with that, I think was really well done. You get that in the books, but we have not had a Dune movie or series come out that really has Paul pushing back against it the way he does in this movie. And I thought that was just brilliantly handled.
I think we see it more in the books. We see it more in Messiah, not that much in Dune itself. So it's why I like it that it's brought like earlier in the storyline.
I think for me, the best way to wrap up the changes that Denis did in this movie, and specifically this movie, is he condensed the themes of Dune and down to just basically Dune Part 2 has one major theme, and that's power, control, and religion all wrapped up in one. We've lost some of the stuff, like we don't there's almost no mention or recognition of the ecology of Dune. I mean, the ecology of Dune is talking about the mouse, the kangaroo mouse. When he asked about Muad'Dib, they touched a little bit on it in Dune Part 1. I'd have to rewatch to see the whole sequence when Liet Kynes dies, if there was any thought process about the Little Makers, if any of that. And that's why at the end of this movie, it's not threatening. It's not Paul threatening to drop the water of life on a spice field. It's gonna nuke it. We're gonna nuke it. And it just. I'm not really complaining. It's just I miss having more than just the theological and socio-political control theme, because there's so much more to Dune than that. And not to get into politics, but I've always been a issue voter, and one of them has always been the environment. And so not seeing the environmentalist at themes being delved into, I kind of miss it. And I don't see where there'd be any room in Dune Messiah, because Dune Messiah is just going to continue the same thing.
I disagree with you there.
It's an important part of Messiah.
To be brought back. I think.
You think it can? It's been. I haven't read Dune Messiah since early last year, so I'd have to reread it.
The desert's changing is one of the big problems that the Fremen have at the beginning of Dune Messiah. They don't like the fact that it's been turned to Greenland. They hate it. They want the desert back. They want their tradition back. That's what they're fighting against.
I thought that was in Children. That's what I thought. That was
much more in Children than in Messiah. But I expect
he's going to combine the two. So
yeah.
Yeah.
In Messiah, there's a tradition. You want their traditions back, but I wouldn't say that it's that much because of the desert. That's more in Children, indeed. But I still believe that they could easily not condense, but bring it back in Messiah, because Paul still struggles a lot with where they want to bring him even further. And I think that the ecology could then become,
I hope so,
the logical problem.
I hope so.
That would be cool. I miss ecology.
Especially with the way they changed the end with Shani leaving instead of staying by his side. I think it opens up the door to bring more elements from the future books than just Messiah itself.
Okay.
What about you, Jen?
Oh man. Okay, here we go. So a couple things. The thing everyone's talking about, and I'm actually going to kind of parse away from this, but the thing that most people say is the biggest change is the fact that Chani and him had the deviation at the end of the movie, right? That really didn't happen in the books, right? Chani, at the end was kind of but at the same time, she never had that much of a public breaking from Paul, where she just left and blah blah blah. In fact, she actually understood Irulan was kind of necessary. She didn't like Irulan. They never really got along ever, but she was okay, understand you're never gonna touch her, right? Okay, then fine. But so that was kind of a deviation. Obviously, Chani getting mad and then writing off somebody. Now I cannot take credit for this. Someone else said, I forgot who. I saw a random Twitter comment. They think that Chani is already pregnant at the end of the movie and doesn't know it. So when she rides off on the worm, she's going to realize she's pregnant, and then that's when she's going to have to come back and tell Paul. So I don't know if that's what's going to happen. Obviously, this is pure conjecture. Nobody knows. You know what I mean? Nobody knows what's going to happen in the next movie. But that was an interesting thought. I was
wonder which baby she's going to have.
Yeah.
Are they going to completely skip Leto the second or the first?
Yeah.
Because there were two Leto the seconds.
Yes.
One was in this book and got killed.
Yes.
And then the other does weird things with fish or sand trout. So
when you mentioned condensing earlier, I agree with you. And to expound on that, one of the things they condensed is Jamas's wife, Hara. She's not even a character in the movies anymore. And when I was watching with Chris, because he's heard an audio review of a lot of the books. He hasn't actually read the books, but he was wait, I thought that when he killed Jamas, there wasn't this sort of interior, kind of troublesome thing. Because when Paul first enters the siege for the first time, there were some people, if you remember that scene where they were shouting at Paul and they're you killed Jamas, blah, blah. that didn't happen in the books. They like completely welcomed Paul. Like, you know, they understood that like they considered him like it was an honorable kind of rite of passage. I mean, there wasn't that much like, what's the word? There wasn't people like angrily shouting at him, yelling at him publicly.
That's one thing. Yeah, in general they were welcoming, but Anna, when she comes in front of him, she's like, "That's the boy that killed my Jameis." She's really kind of against believing it, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's just since she's not there, it's kind of the whole siege that is a bit like, what's going on? Right. How come this little boy was able to take on one of our greatest fighter? Because Jameis was recognized as a great fighter.
Oh yeah.
So.
And that's another thing that kind of gets, well, not kind of, just gets flat out left out, is what the Fremen called the weirding way. You know, David Lynch turned the weirding way into the weirding modules, and that was bad. Really bad.
We don't talk about that.
We'll talk about those, please.
But I don't know how I feel about the weirding way just being the non-existent way. I missed the weirding way.
Stilgar, I think, mentions it in Dune Part One once when he holds the knife up to his throat. He actually says that one time. But other than that, I haven't heard anything else.
In this movie, because part of the reason why they took, well, the big reason why they went in the book, why he allows Jessica to be taken into the tribe, was because she was going to teach them how to fight. You know, because you know, you're pretty badass if you can beat a Fremen who hasn't had any special training beyond being a Fremen, because they're the only ones who can consistently beat the Sardaukar. And so with Paul and Jessica's training and the training some of the Atreides soldiers had that we hear about in the books, it's never talked about in any of the film versions, that, you know, they had trained up about 100 soldiers in the Atreides army to being, quote, within a hair's breadth of the Sardaukar. You know, and we don't have any of that. And I kind of miss it, you know. I wanted to see the weirding way getting used in like big fight, you know, that would have been kind of fun. But
I don't think I missed that as much as I missed Thufir Howit's sort of conclusion within the book. Exactly. The Mentat. I mean,
I know.
Yeah, I mean, Thufir Howit, his story in the book is rather intriguing. Yeah. Watching him play the Harkonnens against each other was amazing, and you know, all of that. So he kind of got dropped. I get why. I understand the change, and I'm not angry about it. But I mean, you know, I kind of miss him a little bit. Not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I think it would have been all right for a series, but it's just in 3 hours or even a little less. They had to make choices.
Yeah,
and I think that going to the heart of the story was more important than having every single, even a very interesting character. That's just you know, impossible.
I've come to the conclusion the only perfect way to do, well, it wouldn't even be perfect then, but the best way to do Dune would be big budget TV series like streaming or HBO or something like that. You know, I'm talking Game of Thrones kind of budget. You know, last couple seasons of Game of Thrones. Throw that at somebody to make the Dune series. Season 1, 10 episodes, first book. Season 2, 10 episodes, the books 2 and 3. And then you do Emperor, and you go all the way through Frank's books.
But when stuff gets weird, you're hitting a budget.
God Emperor, it does go weird.
Then we would miss the cinematic experience. I mean, IMAX.
Yeah.
You know, those giant sandworm on a giant screen was just
that was cool.
Irreplaceable.
That was cool.
Was cool.
Seeing Tiny Red.
I tend to sit farther in the back in the theater anyway, so I don't need the massive, super massive. And I watch all my TV and streamers on this little screen right here, and 17-inch monitor, but I only sit 2 feet away, 1.5 feet away from it, so it's pretty big in, you know, the field of my view. But I don't need. I'm not a theater goer. This is the first movie I've seen. This is the first feature film I've seen in the theater since COVID.
Me too.
I was at a movie festival, a film festival, the year of COVID, and there was maybe 15 of us spread out in an entire theater talking while we watched these shorts, and between these shorts. And so I used to be big on going to the theaters. To be honest, I'd rather sit at home and watch it on my laptop screen, or preferably a big screen on a wall.
I had to see this in the theater. I had to.
I did too.
I had to. There was no question.
I understand it. There are some movies I have to see on the screen, but most of the time, big screen. Most of the time, though, no.
Well, I saw both Dune in IMAX, and I also saw Avatar on IMAX, and I'm glad I did. And I have a projector at home, so my screen in my living room is 103 or 110 inches. I don't recall exactly. It's a projector with the speaker for home cinema. So right. I have a great experience at home too, but it's just not the same. As we were mentioning at the very beginning, just the sound experience of IMAX was incredible. We cannot have that at home, at least not in my apartment with neighbors that I have to take in account.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm glad. There's one aspect of this movie that really floored me, and it's the sort of foreshadowing when you look back on the first movie did, like with Chani stabbing Paul. I mean, at first you're like, I don't understand what's going on with that. At the end of this, we understand. Yes. She kept pushing him to go south, which is the death of Paul Atreides. Once he goes south, Paul Atreides is no more. He is now
Muad'Dib.
So that was her actually, her pushing him was her killing Paul Atreides. And
yeah.
It was beautifully done. I mean, and I love the way everybody pushed him. Gurney was pushing him. His mother was pushing him. Stilgar was pushing him.
Yeah.
And then, once Chani fell in and started pushing, he's like, all right. And I love the fact that they're all upset at what they get in the end. And he's like, this is what I told you. Mm-hmm. Welcome. This is what you get.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what you get. I warned you. This is a cautionary tale, and I love the fact that he highlights that, because a lot of people don't pick that up from the other, the miniseries or the 1984 Abomination. I'm not even going to call it there. It's an abomination.
It was it's just not there. They thought that Paul was a hero. He's never been intended as a hero in the books themselves. And that's why I say I enjoy that they are bringing it earlier in this movie. Heresy.
I'm sorry, Noman Garden. If it rains at the end of the movie and it's a Dune movie, it's wrong.
That's true, actually.
No, actually,
he stole it from Robert Jordan.
It does rain at the end of Emperor of Dune. The Emperor, God Emperor of Dune. So it's just bringing
different book.
Couple of 1,000 years
with
early.
We also get Duncan version 1689. So I mean, not the same thing.
Right.
We are way spoiling things for people that haven't seen
it. Sorry.
Oops.
Didn't we say that it was spoilery?
Yeah,
but for this one,
point.
We are going a little ahead of ourselves, but hey,
okay.
I'm sorry, I'm a
Dune nerd. 60-year-old book, what year did God Emperor come out? 50 years at least.
I was one of the people spoiled, because I remember the first time I met Roxelane, and I probably remember this the rest of my life, when I was so excited about the first Dune. I was a little baby Dune fan, and you all were guiding me. And Roxalane's like, you haven't read any of the other books, have you? And I was like, no, I haven't. And she goes, because I didn't understand why she mentioned Duncan Idaho again. I was like, what do you mean? He's dead. And she says, you haven't read any of the books, have you? And I said, no,
Nope.
you didn't spoil it for me. I didn't know what you were talking about, right? You didn't really spoil anything. But at the same time, I was like, I was so curious as to what you meant by that. And then I found out later. That's all I'm going to say. It was actually
How far have you read now,
this
Jen?
thing with Roxelane. I've actually only read up to 3. I've only read up past
Okay.
Dune. So I've read up to Children of Children of Dune. Yeah, I read all through the end of Children.
But you finished the Children?
Yes, it's finished.
Okay, so you know that Leto is gonna transform.
Yes,
okay.
I do.
It gets weird.
That was a really weird experience. I was reading it. I was like,
it gets so much worse.
What is going on?
Depending on which book covers you look at.
The weird things.
Yeah.
They describe it in detail about what was going on with all of it. Anyway, hold on. I'll stop. I'm guilty now, so I'll be quiet.
We're all complicit in this. We all go down together.
What is your favorite scene? And do you have a scene that you didn't? Let's ask that first. Is there a scene you did not like?
No. Honestly, the way it was shot, there's not one scene that I was like, oh, I don't like that. No. Even stuff that I may not have agreed with story-wise, it was so beautifully shot that I didn't. Yeah, no, I'm not mad. I'm like, that was beautiful.
Jen?
Not a scene. I love how they make fun of it themselves. I hate it because they make the joke within the movie, and I appreciate that so much. How
there's a few jokes in this movie. Which one?
How they're like, Paul was like, wait a minute, the atomics have been under that cave this whole time, and we had no idea. And he's like, it's so stupid. It's like right there. And I'm like, oh my God. Because in the books, obviously, he knows like where the atomics are. So that part, I was like, come on, guys. But that wasn't even a blip. I guess I really shouldn't say that. What do you say, Glenn? That's nitpicking. So, and they even draw attention to that in the movie, like joking around about it. So that kind of like made me laugh a little bit. So anyway,
hiding in plain sight. It's genius.
yeah. But that's it. And but it all got resolved again when that cool scene of Paul putting his fingers in. I guess they took, I don't know, like fingerprint scan or blood or whatever they did, and put his fingers in there, and that opened up that hallway of that like zooming shot or whatever. It was kind of cool. I liked that shot, so it was worth it.
Yeah, I'm going to be highly surprised if the director of photography or cinematography doesn't get at least an Oscar nomination.
Oh yeah.
This is just it's a beautifully shot film.
I think he had. What didn't he win the Oscar last time? I don't recall.
I think so.
I know that he had been nominated, but I think that he won it.
Oh yeah, probably. So. I would not be surprised.
But I think this one was even more visually stunning than the first one. At least it appeared to be to me, because I saw this one in the theater. Maybe, I don't know, but the way it was lit and shot was just so crisp and just
VFX will get award nominations too.
Oh, it has
one of the best VFX I've seen. It just floored me. One of the one joke that I crack up. It's stupid, but when Paul is being sent off to go across that small erg off in the distance, and Stilgar is warning him, "Watch out for the centipedes. Don't worry about the big ones; they're harmless. But the little ones." And then he goes like this: "The little ones."
That was
like
cute. That whole
thing. A little centipede? No, thank you.
Yeah.
And then his whole teasing about the djinn, don't ever listen to the djinn.
Was cute. Yeah, I thought of the Jinn Aiel because I'm that nerd. I was like, he's talking about the Jinn Aiel. Like, I think that was stupid.
I really like this version of Stilgar. I used to think my favorite version of Stilgar was the guy with the receding hair, the thinning hair in Frank Herbert's Dune. The first miniseries on Sci-Fi Channel, not the old guy who plays Stilgar in Children, but the guy in the miniseries. I really liked him, but this version of Stilgar is just, I love
him.
Javier Bardem.
I've never seen Javier. I will be ashamed to say, Chris loved Javier Bardem, and I think he was a villain in one of the Bond ones that he showed me. He was like, "No, he's a villain." I forget which one.
He's been a villain a couple times, I think.
Yes, and I didn't have any. What's the word? I kind of like that because I didn't know anything really about the actor or any of his previous roles, so I went in blind. I just knew about Stilgar, and that was it. And after reading the books, I love this Stilgar so much. So he's my standout. That we'll get to that part later. We'll be quiet on that.
Thank you, Noman Garden.
Noman Garden, thank you.
Noman Garden, he's always got the facts everywhere I go.
Yeah,
much appreciated.
Everywhere. So, favorite scenes other than anybody else got?
Yeah, well, for me, it was simply the sandworm writing, because it's something that
choice.
we cannot have in the books. I mean, we have it in our head, but it's not the same. So only cinema can truly render the grandeur of that. And I think he did it amazingly. I mean, they look like surfing more than riding,
Right.
even though it's sand. It's just wow.
And that was a really big worm too.
The director of photography, but the VFX is also and all. I feel like the soundscape as well. Everything got together to just create something amazing that we cannot have in any other medium. So for me, yeah, the top scene.
Yeah,
even though there's plenty of others that I enjoy, but
my favorite scene, honestly, is the one behind me, the birth of a god. For Ill or Nil. Yeah. I love that scene. You wanted it. He's like, okay, here we are. You guys wanted this. And he walks out. And from that moment on, man, you see that look in his eye. It was like, oh man,
he's even got all of Chani's friends at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Of the ones that agreed with her that this religious stuff is cuckoo. And all of a sudden, less than 9 months later. And that's part of where I have an issue with the time crunch is that's an awful short amount of time for them to do a 180 like that. But okay, it works. They were against him, and you're like, no, the Mahdi's got to be a Fremen, and then look, Lisan al-Gaid, it's like real quick some of them changed. But yeah, she's like the only one who's still apparently the only one who hasn't bought into it at the end of the movie. My favorite scene was the worm riding too. Yeah, Paul doing his first worm ride was just it's by far the best version we've gotten. We've gotten this 3 times, and this looked real. First of all, I actually could believe that there was a big old worm there. And it just it was great.
The sound in the theaters as the sand was shifting, you could hear it running. It sounded like the sand was moving like a wave almost. Yeah. You could hear it. It was just amazing sound design. I don't know who came up with that, but that was, just brilliant.
And that leads me to a moment that I don't like. And just to be fair, I will put it up. Now, if I can find it. Not that. Where's the banners? Anyways, I can't find the banner I want. When just before Paul goes on his worm ride, we see Stilgar riding a worm along off in the distance, and Paul's sitting there watching Stilgar, and Stilgar he yells something back, and I'm like, what the hell did he hear? Because we saw how loud it is every other time we're on top of a worm.
True.
You can barely hear the person's riding next to you, let alone somebody half a kilometer away, not on the same worm as you ride by. I just don't see how Stilgar would have heard Paul. And I know it's a stupid thing to complain about, but both times I saw it,
he heard. I think he saw more than heard.
Maybe he was using a weirding module.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Bill, okay. There's the
Bill, I need you to do this with your hair. I need you to do this. I need you to thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that so
You're
much.
welcome. I'm here to please.
That was great.
You remember that?
Yeah,
Oh, I do.
my thing that I really liked was I didn't know how they were going to do it in the movie, and the thing that I think they surpassed my expectations more than anything else that I was thinking, because we kind of got the trailer for the sandworm, right? So we didn't know how amazing it was going to be. We knew it was going to be kind of cool because they give us a little trailer shot before the movie came out about that, and it was still amazing though. But what I was like, how are they gonna introduce? Because in the books, all of a sudden, like Fade Rotha was there, and then he was dead in like 2 seconds. So I was like, how are they? Are they? Is it going to seem rushed in the movie to people that don't know anything about him before going into this? That haven't read the books. Like, how are they going to do that? Like, you know what I mean? Is it going to be bad? It was amazing. Gaiety Prime. I'm probably saying it wrong. Gaiety Prime, JD Prime, however you pronounce it. Gaiety Prime. Where the Harkonnens live, that whole black
Getty.
sun,
I said Getty.
the whole like birthday celebration with him out there and like killing
Holy
people.
birthday.
Everything it was just over the top. Even the parade through the street with all like the stuff afterwards and whatever, and the whole entire shot between him and
Lady
I
Margot?
forget again. Correct. Yes, ma'am. All of that was just beautifully done. Like, it surpassed my expectations completely, and I was like, this doesn't seem out of place with the rest, because you're so invested in Chani and Paul and their story, right? Like, I didn't want it to seem like a throwaway scene, and it wasn't, and that made me so very, very happy. So
Austin Butler killed it as Fade Ralph.
Oh my god,
he was so menacing and gross and compelling at the same time.
All
it was
of
just
that.
done so well.
Yes,
a perfect psychopath.
Yeah.
I'm blown away by that fact, because the first thing I ever watched him in was the Shannara Chronicles. So, you know, he was like the lead on that show.
We don't talk about that.
And now I don't know why you're watching that, man. Glutton for Punishment?
It was fantasy, and it was on TV, and it was fantasy, and there wasn't really anything else to watch at the time. So, and cute girls with pointy ears. So there's that too.
Okay, understandable.
I would like just to come back to what. Oh, sorry, you want to go on with us?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
About what Bill was saying about the religious part. What I especially enjoy with all, not as necessarily a specific scene, but overall that entire team or whatever, is that as I saw a video that was saying how incredible that Frank Herbert was able to portray the religious fervor and indoctrination and all that kind of stuff decades before the scientific reports prove that it's indeed what is happening. And we saw it. We kind of lived it in a way. Like, I think we were more like most of us, I would expect, we were more like Shani, disbelieving. And yet the portrayal of all that fervor was just so true to integrism and all that kind of stuff. It's just, wow. It's just incredible that they were able to bring the truth of it, and at the same time leave us skeptical. Maybe because thanks to Shani point of view.
You know, I understand all the skepticism, but there's one thing that you can't explain away except with just the most perfect coincidence when it comes to the whole prophecy in this movie. And that was, in this movie, the version of the prophecy in this movie, Shani's name is Sedai, and they have that mean desert spring, and they have it specifically from the prophecy. You know, that's just, that's a major, either the prophecy's more real than we want to think, or it's just the most cosmic coincidence in the world that Shani was given the tribe name of Sedai, secret name of Sedai, and from the prophecy. It's just, other than that, I can totally understand why everybody would be skeptical. Why the skeptical characters would be skeptical.
For me, it's the water of life. I mean, the fact that he changes the water of life is okay. That's an anomaly. That is something that not everybody can do. It's been tried. They died. Right. We know that for a fact. So the fact that he's able to do it, that's the only thing that makes me go, maybe there might be something to this a little bit,
right?
But I think they got it wrong.
That can be explained away with 91 generations of breeding system and Bene Gesserit training. He is the Kwisatz Haderach. There, the first Kwisatz, the first successful Kwisatz Haderach. But
the first
whether there's really any truth to the prophecies that the Missionaria Protectiva had put in place, and I wish they'd been name dropped. I don't recall them being mentioned in the movie.
No, not by that specific name. No.
Just the way.
Love the
way has been prepared.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
So,
but the thing is,
it's just
for me, I believe that they planted so many seeds that some of them must come out. And we see those that did come out, but probably there's plenty of others that just disappeared, fell through, or whatever, So her brother came off more real than coincidence.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe too. I don't know.
Yeah. So it does make me wonder. It makes me doubt my skepticism. In context of this story.
Mm-hmm. Well,
like I said, the only thing to do that for me was the water of life, because it's the one thing that he supposedly couldn't do. No matter what, nobody's been able to do it. So the fact that he was able to successfully do it, I was like, okay.
The only thing that made me kind of buy into it is something that has not happened yet. It happens later with the Paul's, I'll say, loss of a major organ. And then he goes around and says stuff real time that is absolutely impossible. You guys know those that have read the books.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. But I mean, for those who don't, you're talking about missing organs. So,
But that's not prophecy.
Right.
It's simply that he aligns his vision, because, like the Kwisatz Haderach is able to see all the possible future. It must be quite overwhelming, I believe. And so he kind of narrows it to the one specific line, let's call it, that is currently happening. But he could have seen any other, he could have picked maybe any other, depending of what is going on. But since he's able to see all of them, of course he will see the right one, the one that is currently happening. It's just that the weird thing is that he sees it even further on, and he kind of relive it, I guess. I don't know exactly how that goes on for him.
Prescience gets crazy.
Yeah, it does.
Prescience really does get crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's
Well,
not
we
exactly
started
prophecy like we are used to in other kind of fantasy or other books about the chosen one or stuff like that. It's more that he sees everything that is possible. So
we've already started touching on the production side of things, the cinematography and the special effects and sound effects and music and all that.
Amazing.
What are your thoughts on those, other than, I mean, we all have agreed that cinematography is just hands down probably the best we've seen in a while.
Hans Zimmer, man. I mean, is there a question about the music? Not really.
Oh, no, none. Zero.
Well, I'll talk about that in a second.
So Chris noticed
Jen.
something this morning.
Okay.
Chris was today. He noticed something, and he was, "Oh my god, I'm an idiot! I didn't realize this when I saw it in the theater." He goes, "You know how Gaiety? I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing it. I apologize.
You're fine.
Prime is all in black and white, right?" And he goes, and then when Lady Margot he goes, "They shot it intentionally." He goes, "I should have seen this in the theater, but I didn't." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right. I remember." When Lady Margot was like walking ahead and behind, and Fade Rotha's like following her down those corridors, because of the black and white nature that is the planet, she looks just like a chess piece moving. And they did that intentionally. He goes, "Did you notice she looks just like a chess piece in that corridor?" I'm like, "No." And he goes, the way her hood is arrayed around her and the way she's walking very sedately, she looks just like a chess piece moving on a black and white board. He goes, that is the coolest damn thing. I'm like, I didn't see that. He goes, but I was watching clips of it and I just noticed it this morning. And he goes, and he actually use the word cinematography. He goes, that is some pretty freaking cool cinematography to me. He goes, I did not realize that when I was at the theater. I was like, okay, that's really cool. So I just want to bring that up. Like, if you guys want to like watch that again and see for the chess piece, he goes, to me, he goes, that's what it looked like because of the black and white nature of the colors of the planet. And obviously that fits so well into what's going on, what you're seeing. So I was like, okay, that's cool. If they did that intentionally, like that's some huge cinematography points in an already like amazingly cinematography movie. But yeah, I'd keep harping on that entire like Harkonnen planet, but to me, I was just blown away by it because I was expecting everything else to be amazing. I was so invested in Paul and Johnny. I was like, because the books, I was like, this came like out of nowhere. This kind of flew at me, and then he was already dead as soon as he was introduced. And of course, we all like enjoy Feyd-Rautha, but like at the same time, it's like he was in there for like this long, and they really did good tribute to his character. I think.
I don't know if enjoyed is what you can call Feyd-Rautha.
Sorry, I don't know what you could say to it.
We experienced Feyd-Rautha.
Sorry.
Yeah, we experienced Feyd-Rautha.
So creepy.
That's true. I agree.
All right, this is probably a heretical thing to say for a lot of people, but I typically like Hans Zimmer's music. I just haven't liked it for Dune. It's there are some scenes where the music work, like Paul riding the sandworm as he's standing up. That's great, but most of the rest of it, to my ears and my body, because I feel it in the theater, it's, I don't want to say noise, but it's more just sounds. Yes. It doesn't hit me like music. Yeah, I am old. It doesn't hit me as music. It hits me as sound most of the time. I like Hans Zimmer. I just don't like his Dune music. I tried listening to the first soundtrack, you know, when that came out, and I just could not get through it.
I've listened to it many times.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I gotta say you're in the minority there, Glenn.
Everybody else likes it. It just, you know, yeah. Like I said, this was heresy to say, but I'm not saying it's bad. It's just it wasn't for me.
Soundscape or tone
it just
poem.
Tone poem. I like that.
I like that too, Elfwich.
But I wouldn't say that it was not melodic identity, though. I think it was all of that.
I think it was very tribal.
I noticed it's after I watched the first movie. I remember a video that was explaining that Hans Zimmer, instead of going for melodic themes for the different families or Bene Gesserit and Fremen and all that, he went for more for instrument. Even let's consider the voices as an instrument as well. Yeah. So what instead of a melody, and so he was able to merge different instruments, voices, and soundscape, let's call it like that, into different things together to for instance, mixing up the Atreides and the Bene Gesserit team to represent Paul as the Kwisatz Haderach and things like that. And for me, that's I've never heard anywhere else something like that being done, and I think it's just genius.
I still have it left where he chose the bagpipes for the Atreides. That was kind of cool to see that at the first Dune. So
he made bagpipes cool. Well, yeah. I mean, how often do you hear bagpipes go?
I'm still there.
Bagpipes have always been cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. Bagpipes are always cool.
Okay, he made them cooler.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you that because I grew up with bagpipe music, so I'm always partial to it.
I like bagpipes too.
That's why I made a dwarven bard who plays bagpipes.
I saw that. Yes.
Anything else anybody wants to bring up about sound quality, music, production, special effects? I mean,
Well, I would just say about the special effect, for me, they kind of didn't feel like special. They felt just real, as you said earlier. I felt like instead of creating that world, they actually kind of discovered it and went to it and filmed there and brought it back to us, you know? So
yeah. My question with this shot behind me is how they keep those worms from fighting. You know, I thought worms didn't like being around each other, so
there you go.
I mean, they had a good worm wrangler working on this movie to keep those worms from fighting. That's the only thing I can figure out.
I like. Does it make you hungry for popcorn?
No. So I guess we should move on to actors, best or worst. I'm just going to rattle off who I always come up with 3 names, so I'll let you guys go first, and then I'll give my 3 names.
I'm trying to think of who I didn't like. I've already told you who my favorite is. That's just pure partiality, as Stalker as Harvey. I've heard him. I'll let you guys go because I can't think of someone I didn't like. Yeah, I'll be quiet. I'll let you guys go. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that.
Well, I'll say that I think my favorite was Timothée Chalamet, simply because it was the first time I felt we had Paul. He was not playing; he was Paul. Something that I couldn't feel in either the movie or the miniseries. So, just for that alone, it's wow. Especially considering that character, Paul is such a complex character, so that a young actor would be able to bring all that complexity to screen. Wow. Wow.
And the thing with Timothée Chalamet, he's really good in the role. And despite the fact he's the same age when he filmed this that Kyle MacLachlan was when he filmed the other Dune movie, this guy actually looks Paul's age.
What other Dune movie?
Looks, yeah, exactly. You know, Timothée Chalamet looks younger than he is. Yeah. Or can look younger than he is. And he looks, I believe he was a teenager, you know, in this, you know, I can believe he's a teenager. I know he's in his mid-20s, but, you know, he looks passable for a teenager, and especially at least in film. Bill, how about yours?
My favorite was Chalamet. I mean, like I said, he brought a complexity to Paul that we got from the interior of Paul's thoughts in the first book that we just never had on screen before. We get to see him actually try and thwart his own destiny, which doesn't work. So, you know, I loved seeing that play out, and that final moment of him embracing, okay, this is what it has to be. So, and from that moment on, you have a very different man, and you see it in his eyes. And for an actor to pull that off, loved it.
I remember something about that. Denis was talking about how in the first Dune, he was having to instruct Timothée, saying, no, don't go Muad'Dib yet. Muad'Dib is coming. You cannot go Muad'Dib, because he was trying to go for that in the first Dune, and he goes, it's too early. You gotta dial it back. You gotta wait for the second film, because he said that he was having to hold the reins on him in the first Dune to go that far, and he was able. I think maybe that came out because he was finally able to, like, he had been waiting. He was able to go crazy with it. The only reason why I'm going to say Stilgar is
never go full Muad'Dib.
Yes. I love that.
That's Tropic Thunder. That I like it.
I love that. I'm
going to get a shirt that says "Never go full
Muad'Dib." That's great. Yes.
I had to. I'm sorry. I didn't want to interrupt. Perfect. I didn't want to interrupt Jen, but I had to say it, so I did it that way.
That's fine. That's
great. I love it. It's great. The only reason why I say Stilgar is because it's, again, personal for me. Let me slightly go into that a little bit more so we understand, then we'll move on. When I have when there's a really religious person inside of a film, like absolute like religious fervored person, my just personal thing is like, this person doesn't use a lot of logic. Mostly they're way too far into the deep of like their like, and for me in a movie, it rubs me off the wrong way. But he did a really good job of being like a good father figure and a good protectorate figure, and still rooted in logic and being sound, but at the same time full Lisan al Gaib. He's still that person, so him able to anchor both for me was a pretty good job. So
this Stilgar has a sense of humor.
Yeah,
I really do appreciate the sense of humor.
Yeah,
it's dry, but it's the desert, so
yeah, even with some of his mannerisms, like when he's having the conversation with Lady Jessica about, we need you to be the Reverend Mother, and if you're not going to do it, then he's not the Lisan al Gaib, so we just take back your water. What do you do? And he does that thing with and I just like he was making it a joke, but he wasn't, because he was fully serious. But it's just the manner, the way he did that, just it got a little of a chuckle in our theater, which I'm like, okay, it was. He got a number of laughs in the theater when I saw it, but I ended up, like I said, with 3 names, and one of them was Javier Bardem as Stilgar. The next 2, I can't decide who would be 1 and who would be 2. It's basically Zendaya as Chani.
She's great.
I might not agree entirely with the writing of the role, but what she had to work with, she was Chani. And the other one, he's been mentioned already, Austin Butler is Feyd-Rautha.
Oh yeah.
I'm blown away at his performance. He just, everything about the Harkonnens, or Harkonnens, depending on which movie or show you're watching, everything about them in this movie is just disturbing. Deeply disturbing, but it's brilliantly done. And it just, his performance, every mannerism, every way he walked, his fighting, all of it was just, Austin Butler is just, he's a lot better of an actor than I thought he was. I heard a lot of good things about him as Elvis in that movie, but I haven't seen it. I don't think I will see it, but I'm like, oh, so this guy can act. He just wasn't.
He can move them hips, I'll tell you.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. I've developed a lot of respect for Austin Butler. I'm looking forward to seeing more of his work. In the future, he's got a good future ahead of him in acting. And so does Zendaya. I love Zendaya. I've been a fan of hers. I'd never seen her until the Spider-Man movies. And then I found out she won the Oscar for Entourage, for Euphoria. That's the name. The E show that I was thinking, Euphoria. I think that's the name. She was the one on Euphoria. Isn't that it on HBO?
Yes. Oh, I don't know what show. Yes. I don't know.
It's a TV show. So
I watched season 1 of that, and that was great. And what I say, Oscar? I meant Emmy.
Yeah.
But
so I was trying to think. What you meant an Oscar for?
Yeah, that's me too.
I tried watching season 2 of the show, and it's too depressing to watch.
It's a rough watch. It's bleak.
Yeah,
to say the least.
Very bleak. But she's brilliant on it, and I'm a big fan of hers now. I thought she's perfect as Chani, and I thought Austin Butler was perfect as Feyd. So those are the ones that I had to give shout outs for. They're just great. Yeah. What's it?
My family.
Yeah, I can understand that.
RBF. Yeah.
Well, her boyfriend was considered basically the Messiah, so I understand the resting bitch face. I'd be upset too.
Yeah, still very.
Yes, definitely off witch. And Norman Guard, nothing's wrong with a dry sense of humor, if you ask me.
Especially
I just said it was very dry because
we're
in the desert.
Yeah, that was a good line there, Bill. Anything else on actors anybody want to bring up?
Josh Brolin, who played
Young pup. Yeah. I know you're talking about Gurney.
Gurney man.
Gurney Halleck. I kept wanting to say Stilgar. I'm like, I know it's not Stilgar. Gurney Halleck. He has a book coming out of poetry that is written about Dune.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I looked it up. It's hella expensive, but it comes with a song that he sings on. With the music written by Hans Zimmer. So I really would love to hear that. But he has a book of photography and poems that he came up with while they were making the 2 movies. So that'll be coming out, I think, relatively sooner. It's out now.
I realized this past
I find that an awesome experience that, you could turn that into art for yourself.
Hell yeah.
Re-immersing myself into Dune, I've realized that I think my favorite character in the franchise is Gurney Halleck.
A lot of people have that agree with you.
I really like the only one that comes close is Duncan Idaho, and don't ask me which one.
Okay.
Because I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Fair.
But yeah, Gurney is I just really like Gurney. And the one thing I'm hoping to see, and we won't see it because it's way into Children of Dune, I want to see Josh Brolin get up on and mount a worm and ride a worm by himself.
Yeah.
Just because I want to see Gurney Halleck riding a worm on screen, just because he's like one of the few non-Fremen born characters in the books to actually do that.
Mm-hmm.
That, other than Paul. It's not just Paul who can pull it off. That old man can do it too.
Yeah, Gurney Halleck can do anything. Like, he almost.
My only problem with Josh Brolin as Gurney Halleck is he's not ugly. And, that's really the only problem. Gurney's supposed to be fugly.
Yes. Yes.
And you can't really say that about Brolin.
He would be ugly. He's disfigured by the scars, but maybe he's not.
The word ugly is used in the book.
The scars.
Yeah. The word ugly is used several times in the book describing him, though.
Yeah, but ugly's so subjective that.
True. I mean,
it's subjective. I mean,
you could say that Gurney's supposed to have a face that only Birgitta could love.
When they called him ugly, it's always the focus because those scars are so frightening. So.
Well, he is a frightening guy. I mean, you got to admit, even in the book, he is terrifying.
Yeah,
he's sort of Fade Routha with a conscience. He's just as violent, but he has a conscience about murdering people. He doesn't go out of his way to do it. He doesn't enjoy it, but he can damn sure do it and do it well.
Oh yeah,
he's scary.
Oh yeah.
I gotta wonder. Do you think he could have beaten Fade Routha?
No,
Gurney.
Well, no. Wait, hold on.
What was the question? Sorry. If he could.
Do you think Gurney Halleck could have beaten Fade Routha if Paul had let Gurney have that fight?
Given the speed he used to go through Raban, probably.
I
don't know.
Because
Fade, I think it would have been an interesting fight, but
I don't know.
Because Fade is being trained a bit the same way, just distorted as Paul. He's
right.
And Paul has been trained by all, like Gurney, Idaho, his mother, and possibly even other teachers. And Fade has had the same kind, in a very different background, but the same kind of very
without
harsh,
the Bene
very,
Gesserit stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, among he's had probably some of the best teachers as well, and add his psychopathic nature to it, or maybe I don't know if he's really naturally psychopath or it's just the background in which he grew up that made him so. But
I'm gonna go with yes.
To both.
Yes.
At the same time, they kind of have a lot of the same blood, as they are cousin, basically. Well, second generation cousin, but whatever.
Direct first. First
Yeah,
generation.
they're direct. Yeah, first cousin.
No, but I mean, no,
they share a
not first
grandfather.
generation, because Phaedra is the
nephew of.
Yeah,
that's true.
yeah,
Okay,
it's
yeah.
the direct
Second cousin.
nephew of
Yeah.
the Baron, while Paul is the grandchild. So they are second cousin, but whatever.
Damn it, I'm gonna need a flow chart.
Of
I need a flow chart.
Yeah, second cousin. I think so.
Yeah, I was wrong.
So
Thank
He
you
calls
for
him
correcting.
cousin. He calls him cousin. So I think we're gonna go with some sort of cousin. I think.
Right.
I mean,
Second cousin once removed, maybe.
I don't know.
Something like that. So that moves to, this is something that Dune is especially good for. What are the themes that the movie addressed? And I'll let you guys go. Who wanted to start?
As you mentioned,
Family first.
They condense until. Oh, sorry.
I said family first. I'm sorry.
Wow.
That's stupid.
Good one, Jen.
I apologize.
No, that's a good one. Do not apologize.
Family first is a very right-wing thing that people say in America, so that I just thought that would be funny to say here. Sorry, go ahead. I apologize. Go ahead.
Okay.
No, that's hilarious. So yeah.
Sorry, my apologies. Continue.
Be careful what you wish for. Honestly, be careful what you wish for. You wanted your Messiah, you made him, you created him, and now he's here. And guess what? He's not the soft little dainty thing you thought he would be, bringing peace about the world. He didn't bring peace. He's bringing destruction.
No.
And he doesn't make a secret about it.
No.
He warned them. So be careful what you wish for. Which I think is the whole point of Dune.
It is one of his big overalls.
Manage your expectations. Don't put your faith so much into, something so blindly that you're going to overlook the flaws.
Beware of charismatic leaders.
Mm.
As one of the big ones he's always had.
Beware of anybody that says, follow me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I definitely think it was
one of the
Go ahead.
theme in the book, and yet it was the one that Frank Herbert was the most frustrated about because people didn't see it. It's why he wrote Messiah. And so that making it the main theme in this movie, I think it was really great. Especially as I recall that before Dune Part One came out, someone asked Denis Villeneuve if he thought that Dune was still relevant in the 21st century, since it was such an old book, And he said, I think it's even more relevant now than it was when it was written. And I think so too. We could make a lot of links with, for instance, just something very actual right now that was not when Dune Part One came out, is about the charismatic leader that is called Putin.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just one example. And I think that turning Chani as our kind of point of view make us be more easily see it, question, and feel related, and so question indeed that theme of should we follow blindly whoever called us to do something, So I know that a lot of people criticize the change in Chani, but I think it was actually brilliant for that. We can more relate now, I think.
Well, I think she's dealing with a lot of inner guilt because she's realizing that she's partly responsible for what's going on now. She pushed him in that direction. I mean, he warned her.
Oh, well, among others, but yeah.
Yeah. No. But he warned everybody, and he told her specifically, if I go south, this is going to be a bloodbath. I'm telling you right now, and it's not going to stop here on this planet. This is going to keep going. He tried to explain it, and nobody wanted to hear it because they wanted, their Messiah. And well, you got him. So I think she's realizing, okay, maybe that wasn't the greatest idea to sort of push him to go south.
Right.
So she's reckoning with her own feelings about it was the right thing for my people, but personally, I am not happy with the results. So
I'm not even sure if she thinks that it's the right thing for her people. I think at that point she might even be questioning that. I don't know.
I think she knew it was the best road to freedom and before her people. I think she was logical enough to understand that backing Paul is your best way to the throne, which is going to get your people free.
But that was before the very ending. At the ending, I'm not sure if she still believes. I think she's.
By the end, no, she doesn't. No, she's questioning that. Which, like I said, she's beating herself up. I think a little bit. That's one of the reasons she ran off. It wasn't just being mad at Paul. Yeah, that's a part of it. But I think she's got some serious self-reflection to do, and she's mad at herself. She's like, man, I thought this was the right move, but I am not happy with how this turned out at all.
Anything else to bring up? You guys got any other notes that are off questions that don't hit?
I can't wait for Dune 3.
Right.
And
the return of Jason Momoa.
Will even get the Children of Dune. I know that it's not technically about Paul anymore, and yet, gosh, that I would like to have it.
The one I want to see on screen is God Emperor of Dune. That's the one.
How do you make that, man? How do you do that?
I don't know.
A lot of CG and some prosthetics and an actor inside of a big old tube of latex.
Oh, come on, basically. Man.
Hey, they were able to make the Baron look what he looked like, so I'm sure they can do a sandworm.
And speaking about the Baron, that's a change that we haven't discussed.
Mm-hmm.
I am so unbelievably happy that they got rid of the Baron's homosexuality, because the entire reason that the Baron was gay in the first place is because Frank was a raging homophobe. He disowned his son, who came out as gay, according to Brian Herbert. I think I don't remember the gay son's name, but
I didn't know any of that backstory.
Disowned a son, and then made the vilest character in science fiction, not just vile, but also gay, because he wanted to put everything he saw as vile on Baron Harkonnen.
I thought that's why he wanted to influence Aaliyah later, is because he wanted to, feel that pleasure again from a man. I thought that was why. Maybe I'm wrong. I believe you 100%. I don't know any of the actual personal story.
Them not going into that aspect of the Baron, I think, was a really good choice.
Yeah, I don't like the fact that the only gay character is a predator. So I'm with you on that.
Too.
I don't like the predator aspect he wrote into him, because he was very much a predator, and it's like it's just the ick factor, and you're like, it's I know 6 gay people, and none of them act are predatory people. So I'm just gonna say,
never met a gay person like that.
Me either. So I'm fine with him not going into that. And I'm fine with him getting his head lopped off by the Emperor.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite a thing to see a little kid kill him, but having Paul do it. I'm looking at my other notes here. I already mentioned I doubt we're going to see the first Leto the second. We're probably going to go straight to...
I don't think.
I never understood why Frank Herbert consistently called the Leto that survives Leto the second when he should be Leto the third. It's like he forgot his own character.
No, because the other one didn't came of age. So
they called him Leto the second at first, though, didn't they? before he was killed.
But he was only 2 when he was killed.
Yeah.
So he didn't, he didn't take any position as a duke or emperor or anything else. He didn't have a title. So it's normal
that makes sense.
The number
that
wouldn't be kept.
I didn't think of it that way.
We follow at least the logic of our time, our kind of kingdom thing, kingship, or I don't know how to call it. But yeah.
I mean, we got a sentient fetus, and you're worried about naming conventions? Really?
It was just I was always confused by that. I am concerned about Jessica, a Bene Gesserit who has really good Pranabindu body mind control over her own body, puking when they were using the still bags to drain the water out of the Harkonnen troops that attacked them at the beginning of the movie. I disagree with that treatment of Jessica, having her
morning
puke.
sickness.
I don't care if she is. I was going to say, I don't care if she is going through morning sickness. She can control those hormones and chemicals.
It's involuntary. Morning sickness. Dude, all right. Have you ever had a wife who gave birth and was pregnant? Because let me tell you, I don't care what anybody tells you, that is not voluntary. It can be fine 1 second.
These are women who can control everything biologically about their body, down to which sperm fertilizes the egg, down to the ability to neutralize poisons consciously. I would think someone who has those abilities would be able to suppress the urge to vomit. Potentially,
I don't know.
Maybe there was something harmful that would hurt the baby, and she was just getting rid of it. I mean, you don't know.
Did you get, since you're the only person, I don't know if anybody else here has recently read A Wrinkle in Time, but I really got a Major Kamazat's feel from the Harkonnens, the whole conformity of look. And just right after reading A Wrinkle in Time and, dealing with a planet where everybody's conforming to one appearance, and then we go to Gaidi Prime, and I'm like, my God, it was just, I got serious vibes off that.
Yeah.
Are you happy with how blue the eyes are?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not overdone for once, which I am totally okay with.
Yeah, me too. I like it. It seemed more normal. Well, not normal, but natural. It doesn't feel VFX.
I could barely tell on some people. Yeah. Well, the glowing was that was a problem. When those eyes were in the miniseries, when the face was well lit, and so you weren't getting like a glow effect, the blue really worked. The eyes of Abad really worked in that. There weren't. I don't know. I just wanted a bit richer of a blue, a little bit more blue across the way. But they're better than what we've had.
Yeah. Yes.
Much better than what we've had. And we all had the same thing to say several of us had the same thing to say during Wheel of Time about, that arrow in her leg in the last episode, leading weapons into the body. Paul should not have pulled that blade out of his shoulder.
Yeah.
That was just...
Yeah, that's what Chris was like, you're going to start bleeding all over the place. What are you doing?
Yeah. You get it right there. You let the medics fix that.
Stop.
I think everybody knows it. If you get pierced with something, you don't pull it out.
Yeah.
That's how you bleed out within minutes.
Hello.
So those are the only other notes that I had about little tiny details that irked me in one way or another I wanted to comment on. So
yeah, it always blows my mind that you even notice those things in a movie where we got 800-foot freaking worms that you can surf on, and that's your complaint. And I'm like, come on, man. If you're going to put your disbelief at the door and believe in the worm, you can get over he pulled the arrow out of the knife out of his shoulder. You can get over that.
Don't forget, I'm the guy that was comforted by the knowledge of midi-chlorians, that there was some explanation to the Force. So, yeah, I have a weird thing with verisimilitude and suspension of disbelief, when it comes to my science fiction and fantasy. And I never know what it is that's going to bug me. You know, it might not bug me in one movie, but in another movie it will.
Mm-hmm.
So
I must say,
I know,
about
I've noticed.
I'm a first aid instructor, and so each time I see something like that, I'm like, when will they have it right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm like, okay, it's fine. It's just a movie. I'm able to kind of gloss over it.
Well, Roxelane, thank you so much for joining us tonight to discuss Dune. I'm thinking when Dune Messiah comes out, or Dune Part 3, whatever he titles it, I'd really like to try to get you back for that too. This has been a blast.
It will be a pleasure.
Yay!
Thank you guys at home for watching. It's been fun watching your comments in the chat and bringing some up. And I see I'm being told I'm a heretic again. You know, Nolan Garden knows me well enough. I'm a heretic. Thank you guys at home for watching. Thank you for watching in replay. Please leave us a like, some comments, detail where I'm wrong and how bad I am for being pedantic about things.
Yeah,
and
be sure to tell him how wrong he is. Me, not so much.
Yes.
I mean, even if I am wrong, I don't need to know.
Yeah, just leave some comments. Tell me how I'm wrong. We'll be taking next week off. And then the week after that, the 28th, we will be starting our next season of shows. Our next season is going to be Pride and Prejudice. A little bit outside our wheelhouse. Normally we do science fiction fantasy. We're doing something a bit different this time. And we've got 7 weeks of that, including 2 weeks talking about Pride and Prejudice and zombies with AP Canavan. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So please join us for that. Thanks for watching. And leave us in. Excuse me. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to be awesome.
See ya.